Hello, my name is Mara and welcome to Books Like Whoa. So someone suggested this in the last video I did, ranking different books by their covers. So basically in that video I was comparing my favorite books from the last 3 years and ranking them by their content and then ranking them by their covers to see if there was any correlation. In the comments of that video, somebody suggested, hey, what if you did this for romance novel covers? And I thought, ooh, this could be fun. So what I've done is I have tried to pull an equal number of romance novel covers from romance novels that I genuinely really like. So like I enjoy the content and can say like, this is a good book, regardless of how we feel about the cover, the book is good. And then I also went to a couple of delightful regular features from some of my favorite blogs. One of them is SBTB. They have Cover Snark and they have Cover Awe. So Cover Snark are bad romance novel covers, Cover Awe are good ones. And then also Book Binge. They do a WTF cover Saturday. So between those two sources, I found some more questionable ones, and it's been a few days since I pulled them, so I'm hoping I don't completely remember everything I pulled and why. But I thought that we could just have some fun taking a look at the wide range of covers out there for romance novels, and coming from the posture of somebody who really genuinely loves this genre. I really like romance novels. They're really fun. They've been a really wonderful part of my reading diet, and actually I think that they're a big reason of how I'm able to stay reading so much more, because they just make perfect palate cleansers a lot of times. Like some of them are a little heavier, but I tend to read a lot of the sort of like more comedic ones, so having that to kind of break things up in between, you know, the mystery and the fantasy and the nonfiction or whatever else I'm reading, I think has really helped me have a more rounded reading diet. And I also very much appreciate having something lighter to go to when the world is hard and crazy things are happening. I am a lover of romance novels, but I am also somebody who will readily tell you that some of the covers on these are a lot. And I thought, you know, maybe we can get into some of the things that I really like in romance novel covers, things I personally don't like, common themes on different romance novel covers, and you know, just generally we can have sort of an appreciation and good-spirited, lighthearted ribbing of some of the more peculiar trends within the cover design for this particular genre. So let's go to the tier list and we will dive in. Okay, so you are looking at my tier ranking list. I will tell you, the last time I tried to record this, my entire computer did a forced restart, so hoping goes better this time. Okay, so here's what I did. I went, like I said, and grabbed a bunch of different covers. So we will rank all of these. I think I'll probably show you guys a bigger picture of the cover so you can understand what I'm talking about. And here are the categories I've come up with. So I've got love it, meaning like for whatever reason, it's great. I think it's a good cover for, you know, the kind of book it is. No big critiques, it's good. Then we have what I'm calling pretty dresses, because I don't actually necessarily, they're not my favorite covers, but there is a type of romance novel cover that are just like beautiful, gigantic ball gowns, and like, I'm not mad at that. So I decided they could get their a whole category unto themselves right under just like something I love. Then good for what it is. So this is going to be like, if it's not to my personal taste. So for instance, I tend to be somebody who doesn't love a clench. I don't tend to really like people on the cover of my romance covers often, or like realistic looking people. So, you know, maybe I think it's fine for what it is, but it's just not necessarily my favorite. We'll put it there. I will also put self-pubbed design covers in this one that, while maybe not the best, I think considering that it was a cover that was made by the author, or like the author had to commission themselves, I give a little grace there in terms of maybe it's not the best, but I think like for what it is and the kind of budget we were working with, pretty good. Then middle here, I'm gonna go with a bad visual metaphor, which I actually personally quite enjoy, but in a cover where clearly what we're trying to do is allude to someone's, you know, naughty bits, or, you know, maybe it's a punny title that the cover is playing off of, and it's just like, the visual metaphor is not the best, but, you know, I see what they did there. Okay, it could be worse. Photoshop fail, this is especially going to be for like some of the self-pubbed ones where very clearly there's a couple of different images that have been juxtaposed and it's maybe just not gone that well. F plus are ones that are terrible, but I love. Like, they're so bad they're good kind of a thing. And then traumatizing is going to be for ones that are particularly sexy in nature, or very objectifying of specifically male bodies. Like, there are some objectifying covers that are like, they have men with like 12 packs and I'm like genuinely scared, or they'll have a bulge that is so intense that, again, I'm just a little bit afraid. Those are our categories. So we'll dive in, and I will let you guys know if it's a book that I've read and or liked, just for context. Because I definitely did include some of those. First of all, A Deal at the Altar by Lynn Graham. This is one of my favorite category romances, and this is like a classic category kind of cover. There's two hot people, they're in some kind of a clinch. You know, it's very well branded to Harlequin, so I'll give it that. It's not my deal, but I think for what it is, like, this is like a stereotypical romance novel cover, and some people love these. For me, it's not quite so bad it's good. It's more just like, for this kind of cover, it's a perfectly good job. Hot models, seems like they did a pretty good job shooting them. It's fine. So I'll say that's good for what it is. A Kiss for Midwinter. Now, side note, I happen to know Courtney Milan designs her own cover, so good job her, because she is self-pubbed, but I'm gonna put this just with pretty dresses. I like her whole line of covers like this, where they're just like these big, beautiful ball gowns. That's often a look she goes for her historicals, so we'll give it a win here. Okay, this next one, I think we can safely say is a Photoshop fail, or like a bad visual. Oh man, it's hard to say. Okay, this one is tough stuff. A Matter of Manners here. So I'm gonna, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, that's the thing. It's just weird. Like, I can't tell. She kind of looks like this. She's in the same position I'm in when I'm using my squatty potty. Like, it's just, I can't tell. I just don't know. This one is not good, is kind of the bottom line. I don't know if it's traumatizing. It's also not so bad that it's good. So maybe we'll just call this like a bad visual metaphor. Like, I think it's meant to be she's super angsty and like laid bare while he's some sort of rake, just like languishing with his shirt open. I don't know. I don't think this is a particularly good one, but we'll see worse, don't worry. And then A Princess in Theory. I think this is an example of one that's really just like, it's not my normal kind of cover, but I'm gonna put this in pretty dresses, because part of what I love is the color story and how she looks in this. Like, I just think she's so pretty, and this one appeals to me. Also, it's a fantastic contemporary romance. So there you go. Okay, next we've got Alpha Harvest Virgin. This is a lot. So I'm gonna guess this is self-pubbed. I don't know that for a fact, but that would be my guess. I think that this may be a good contender. Well, it could fit a few categories here. So I do think that this is some bad photoshopping, but I think more than anything, oh, it's a Thanksgiving wolf shifter romance. There you go. I would read that, honestly, despite this cover. I think that this qualifies for traumatizing because, like, if I was into someone and they stripped down and this is what they look like, honestly, I mean, good on him for being so ripped, though I do think that this is photoshopped. I think I would honestly be pretty scared that I would just be crushed in this encounter. So I think we're gonna go with traumatizing on this one. I think it qualifies. And then next we have Amazing Grace by Eve Gaddy. So really the reason that I picked this one was because I think this is a great example of bad Photoshop or like bad cover design, because why would you put Amazing Grace like right over the junk? I can also tell that these are like can you see like right here? These are not the pants that this guy had. Like, I don't know if this guy had pants on, but definitely like these are Photoshopped on. And like, again, why is the title right over this area? Like, why? I just think that this is a weird, weird cover composition. I feel like in the original picture that this got photoshopped over, he was probably nude. And also that's a hilarious, I imagine that he's like waiting for his roommates to come home and is like pranking them. I don't know. It's just a weird, he's got a weird look in his eye. The title placement is weird. The pants are photoshopped on. This is a Photoshop fail, I feel like. Okay, and now we're talking about Axel. So here's another one where there's just like layers of things about this that are not great. One, the way that this L looks, like it looks like that is the baby excreting, I think. We've got a tribal, like, faded tattoo that's been photoshopped on. We've got a bear and some cubs looking on. It's just, there's so much going on here. He also looks like maybe he's gonna nurse this baby, and like the pecs have been photoshopped in such a way that he looks like he's able to do that. I'm gonna go again with this is another Photoshop fail, but there's just like layers of things in this that are a lot. Also, is that up in the corner? I can't tell if that's a cub on the back of this bear's. Let's zoom in here. Okay, you see this right here? Like, is that a cub on the back of the bear, or is that an, I think that's what it's meant to be, but it kind of from a distance looks like it's a bear mounting another bear. All around, this is just not great. So we'll go with Photoshop fail for this one. So the next we've got Beach Read, which is a recent release that I very much enjoyed. Now here's where we're going to start to get controversial, because I think a lot of people do not like these more cartoony type of covers, but I actually really like them. I think as long as they don't misrepresent the kind of book it is, like I've seen some people complain that sometimes they're using these more like animated type covers or like cartoon covers for books that are a little more like serious in tone or angsty. And I agree. When they do that, I think that's a little misrepresentation of what kind of book it is, because I think that these covers work best for sort of like rom-coms or contemporaries or just like books that have like a lighter touch. But I actually really like them. And also a big part of how these came to be a part of sort of the romance cover vocabulary is because often there have not been cover models who are the correct race or in some way don't correspond to the cover, like kind of the stock images that are widely available for people to use. So also cover, more like kind of cartoon based covers or like drawn covers have been a way to have characters more accurately reflect the characters in the book. So for all those reasons, I personally like them when used well, but I know they're not for everyone. All that yapping to say, I really like this one. I think it's very effective. It communicates the tone of this particular book, I think, pretty well. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's one I love. Like, I think I love it. It's great. Okay, and then we have one of my favorite sort of like higher heat level kind of contemporaries that I've ever read, which is called Beauty and the Billionaire by Jessica Clare. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but very sexy. And again, I very much enjoy these object cover designs. And after 50 Shades of Grey, this type of cover design in romance came to communicate like a sexier kind of book. And I think that this is a great example of one done really well. So I'm also gonna say, love it for this. Now, our next one, I have not read. And I picked this basically because it like, what have they done to this poor cover model's abs? Like, I think that this is meant to be like the underside of his pecs, but it literally looks like it's some sort of silicone mold here. Like this, I don't know, or like some bread rolls. It's a lot, and I'm gonna call that a definite Photoshop fail. So that one is not great. Next we have Captured by Her Cougar. And again, I think that this is probably gonna fall, yeah, let's call this a Photoshop fail. I think it's just so, like, I don't even know how to process what's happening here with the body. He again has been Photoshopped into having boobs. There's something so like smoothed out about whatever they did to this body. I don't think that this is the head that goes with this body. There's also the cougar ominously like hanging out here in the background. I think all around, this is a bit of a Photoshop fail. And then we've got Dare to Love a Duke by Eva Lee. I just think this is a great example of like, hey, just get a pretty dress and put it on the cover. Like, that's all you gotta do to kind of have a decent going historical romance cover. So for me, this is definitely a pretty dress one where that's all you gotta do. You don't have to do anything else. Oh, and then, okay, next we've got From Ice to Flames, and I included this because this is two common elements in a romance novel cover. An adorable puppy with, or sometimes an adorable baby, an adorable small helpless creature, and a hot shirtless guy. But I think that this is an example of it actually done well. So like, this is not necessarily like my kind of cover, but if you're gonna have those elements, I think that this is a very successful merging of those two. Also, look at the cute little French bulldog. The guy is ripped, but not like in a way that I would be like scared of him. And he's hot, but I think that overall, you know, this is just a well-balanced cover that I don't love, but I think for what it is, it's a good example of it. So let's go and put it good for what it is. Okay, next we've got Headliners from Lucy Parker. You guys know I love Lucy Parker, and I actually really enjoyed this book this year. I thought I'd pick this one of a recent one that I enjoyed, and I really like this cover. I think that, well, one fun fact, I found out because I follow Lucy Parker on Twitter, these guys are a real couple in real life, which I think accounts for some of the, I don't know, I think they have nice chemistry. It's, you know, they're clearly into each other, but it's not like super over the top. And I just all around think they're beautiful people who have like a nice, tasteful background, a tasteful pose, and overall just like a nice, simple kind of cover design. Like, I think this is really effective. So I'm gonna call this a love it. Yeah, I really like this one. And another one that I found, I think through the Cover Awe series that I really liked was He's Not My Boyfriend. So this is an example of one where it is a self-pubbed author, but this is like a tasteful version of this kind of cover, I think. So I don't think it's like as nice to me as the Headliners one, just because I think that some of the like font treatment and kind of blending between the couple and the rest of it is not as seamless. But like, what a tasteful self-pubbed cover. And I like that they're just snuggling, like they're not all, you know, whatever. I think it's nice. So I'm gonna put that in a good for what it is, because, you know, like I've said before, I'm a little bit of a hard sell for people on the cover, but I think that that's a very tasteful version of that. And then I thought I would grab a cover for what is a very campy, over-the-top bananas Kindle Unlimited book that I think actually has a genuinely really nice cover to it. So his Tiger Queen was inspired by the documentary Tiger King, has an amazing dedication to it, and I think that this is a genuinely really pretty cover. I think it communicates she's like kind of a mob princess, so it does that. It's a simple title treatment, and it does say "Here Kitty Kitty," which if you're anything like me, you had that song in your head for, like, still have it in your head basically from that documentary. And yeah, I think that this is actually a super successful cover for what is like a very campy kind of book. So I'm gonna go with love it. I think this is proof that self-pubbed authors can actually get some pretty nice covers if they don't get too ambitious and don't get too crazy with the Photoshop. Okay, and then this next one I picked because I thought it was another very good example of, it just like the overall design is just not great, and this looks like this man is nursing this baby. Now, I want to say there is a slight possibility this romance features a trans man who is still capable of doing that. I don't know. I somehow doubt it, and I think this is more just like, just not a very good cover. It's also not so bad it's good. So we'll call that Photoshop fail, I guess, or like maybe bad visual metaphor. Like, I think this is meant to be communicating family and like adorableness, but it kind of fails because it looks like this dude is nursing this baby. So maybe we'll go with bad visual metaphor on this one. Okay, and then we've got Iron and Magic from Ilona Andrews, and here's an example of what I would probably call somewhere between, like, this is where I get indecisive, because I think it's actually, if you're gonna have two people for a sort of speculative romance cover, it's a self-pubbed book, like, I actually think that I've seen a lot worse. I mean, you've been along for the ride so far. There's a lot worse out there. So I hesitate to put this in the category of like Photoshop fail, because I just don't think this cover is on the same level as some of the ones we've seen. That being said, it's kind of like here-ish. I think probably because I'm biased towards Ilona Andrews, I'm inclined to say that for what this is meant to be, I actually think it's a pretty well done version of it. but I get why other people don't like it. And I think if you are not, if all you've ever seen of romance novel covers are like the ones up here and you don't know how bad it can get, I can see why people don't like these. But for me, I think it's actually pretty good. Okay, I picked Love Hard because on Twitter, there was, when this is in its like square form, can you see that down here? You can't see this guy, like the main emphasis is right here. And I just think that's actually like a fantastic choice for a romance novel cover. Like if you're gonna have the square small version of the image when it reduces, still have the title and still say Nalini, and then also have like the bulge, I think this is pretty good. She's self-pubbed, and I think this is a good example of a self-pubbed cover. You know, it communicates the hero's heritage and the fact that he's a rugby player, and he's like ripped but not crazy. And, you know, he does have a bulge, but it's not on the level I've seen where it becomes traumatizing. So I'm actually gonna go with love it. I think this is a great cover for romance. I think it's very effective. Okay, now we get to one that is truly next level, and I hope you guys will enjoy this little gem that I found. So, One Girl, Five Hungry Beast is a, I mean, you can barely see the author's name. There is so much happening in this, like I don't even know where to begin. So first of all, it does appear that this lady, this girl who's been captured, I'm gonna guess is pregnant. So that makes her kind of situation on this cover a little more perilous, in addition to this wolf and these 5 guys who are all, I think maybe probably meant to be howling. She's got kind of like a BDSM mask situation happening. This guy has a literal actual noose around his neck, and this is just a lot. I'm gonna say though, that considering that this is probably sort of like a reverse harem kind of situation, that would be my guess, I don't know. I actually think this is pretty effective in communicating that. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, I think that this one is so bad it's good. Like, I think that this cover is going to correctly draw to it the people who want to read this kind of book. So I'm gonna give it an F+ because it's not good, but I think that it's actually so bad it's good. Oh, okay, and then this thing. So first of all, if you don't know the Alora's Cave cover tradition, there's like a whole treasure trove that awaits you of these kinds of covers from the mid-aughts. I picked this one because this is like, it's both a Photoshop fail, but it's also like one of the most like clear bad visual metaphors that I've seen in a while, because like literally we've got piercing the veil. Okay, that's the title. And we got the sword directly coming out of the peen. I mean, like, there's zero subtlety to this visual metaphor. It's also a bad Photoshop. I mean, it could qualify for any of these categories. I'm gonna put it in bad visual metaphor though. I mean, that to me is really what stands out about this particular one. It's just like how on the nose, or, you know, on the sword, on the peen, it really is. So we'll go the bad visual metaphor. Okay, then we've got one of the best fantasy romances ever written, which is Radiance by Grace Draven. There's some people who really like this cover design. It's not my favorite, but this is a self-pubbed book, and I think that for what it is, I think it's actually a pretty decent quality of cover art. So I'm gonna say that it's a fantastic book with like a knight kind of cover. So I'm gonna say good for what it is on that one, even though it's, like I said, a fantastic book. Okay, and then next up we have Royally Pucked. This is another one where it qualifies for like several different categories. So it's definitely a bad visual metaphor because it's like pucked. It's a pun title, and we've got like some hockey and some crownage over the peen. Also the hockey stick coming out of the peen. So it definitely qualifies there. It is a Photoshop fail because I'm gonna say that we've got one head, different body with a stock hockey puck and crown juxtaposed over it. I don't love the title treatment. There's definitely worse ones. I don't think it's so bad it's good. I would say though this possibly could be traumatizing though, because he is awful, like veiny. I'm a little worried about his vascular health. Overall, I'm trying to decide if the visual metaphor or the Photoshop fail is stronger here. I think we're gonna have to go with Photoshop fail because it's so clearly layered elements here. So we got that one. And then we've got Sacrifice to the Sea Lord. So this is another one that I'm gonna say is probably a Photoshop fail. Again, we've got like this sort of tattoo and color element over Guy's body. Clearly not the cape he wore on that day on set. We've got the trident sort of like layered on top of it. We've got a little loincloth. I mean, I think that there's worse ones out there, but I do think that they went a little ham with the different elements to make what I'm sure was just like a buff, scantily clad dude look like he could be the Sea Lord that I'm assuming the main character is going to get sacrificed to. So let's go with Photoshop fail on this one. And then next up we've got Santa's Heavy Sack. So yeah, I mean the title on this one is pretty bad. Honestly, the part of this that bugs me the most is the font treatments. Like this is not, like the background is not terrible. I mean, she clearly isn't, clearly this has been Photoshop, but honestly, the reason I'm gonna call this a Photoshop fail is because I just don't like that font so much. It does qualify for bad visual metaphor, I guess, but really I'm talking mostly font is my issue here. So there's that one. Oh, okay, wow. So, stranger in my bed. He stole her. Oh, it's a he. Okay. So here's part of where the Photoshop fail comes, or like part of why this is bad. I thought this was maybe a skirt, but that's a leg. Okay, he stole into her room in the dead of night, awakening forbidden desires she never even dreamed possible. Erotic historical romance. So, man, okay. I thought that this was maybe a lesbian romance, and I just don't think it is, so that makes this even worse. I'm gonna go with F+, I think, on this, because it's so bad it becomes kind of great. Like, it's clearly illustrated, but it's two different illustrations, I think, layered on top of each other, and it's just, like, it's, again, the fact that I can't tell if this is his naked bod or if it's a woman in some sort of flesh-toned nightgown, I don't know. So I'm gonna say so bad it's good. I think that that's an F+. Let's put that one in there. Okay, and then we've got Surprise Delivery, and this one I think is possibly, again, in the traumatizing category because, like, I think these are meant to be, like, he's so buff, he's got that many rippling abs, but, like, this is a lot. Also, I'm currently traumatized because he is wasting PPE, and I'm assuming this was written in a pre-pandemic world, but like, that's just wasteful. So I'm gonna go with this one as traumatizing. Okay, and then next, I'm gonna tell you, I actually think that this is pretty okay for what it is. It's simple, right? Like, yes, I do think that there's a little Photoshop fail happening here. I like that the tagline says some vows are meant to be broken. I think that the font is good. I think the placement of everything makes sense. Clearly this is, oh my gosh, I just noticed that this series is called Nasty Habits Book 1. I kind of love that. So I'm actually gonna say this is good for what it is. I think this is effectively communicating that this is some kind of like nun with, I'm gonna guess maybe a priest romance. I think that this is a pretty good version of communicating what it is in a way that's not like too wild. I'm gonna say this is good for what it is. Okay, and then we've got Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I love this. I think this is a great cover. I like the bright color for the background. I really enjoy like the little cartoon versions of the characters. This accurately reflects what these characters look like according to the book. All around, this is the kind of cover I personally really like, and it is sort of like a romantic comedy, so it's also appropriate tone-wise. So I like that one. Okay, and then next, I think I picked this one because I think this is one of the worst visual metaphors ever, and I loved it. I'm tempted to put this in So Bad It's Good. I don't know if it's quite on that level, but Taming My Wild Rancher. I love that the bear is positioned to clearly be a metaphor for the peen, and then I like that the implication from this is that he refers to his bear peen as Wild Rancher. I just think this is a great, terrible visual metaphor, so it's gonna go in that category. But like I said, I do kind of enjoy it. It's just not, it's not quite bad enough to get to F+ category for me. TEMP. Okay, I picked this one because this was another contemporary romance I enjoyed earlier this year. And I think that this is like a really good route to go for self-pub cover design. Like this is, you can clearly see who the author is. Noelle Adams, I'm one of her loyal fan base, but she definitely has like people who really like her books and read all the ones that come out. The title is here, you see what series it's in, and it's just sort of like a nice stock photo of a respectable dude who has not got any kind of inanimate objects standing in for his peen. He just looks like sort of a nice hunky guy. Like this is exactly, I think, a great route to go for simple self-pub contemporary romance cover. So let's give that one a love it. Okay, next we've got the CANNIS affair. So I'm gonna guess from this cover that we are dealing with a sci-fi menage kind of deal, but then it's called, it says spaceport and there's a spaceship, but then it also says Changeling Press, and this guy kind of looks like an elf. So like, this is very perplexing for me. I'm not sure, like, just from looking at this, exactly what genre of romance I'm getting in terms of like setting. CANNIS, I don't know. Like, I don't really know what I'm getting from this, but I do find that it's so bad it's kind of great. So I think this one gets an F+, actually, now that I've talked that through. Yeah, I think this one belongs here. Oh, okay, you guys. So then this next one, we're gonna see two versions of the same cover because I saw the same book referenced with two different covers. And one of them is so bad. I'm so excited. Okay, sorry. I just remembered this, it's so great. Okay, so the first one is The Game Warden's Mate by A.M. Griffin. So here's the deal. I think that this is not great, but I think that there are worse, like we've seen worse, right? Like this could be a lot worse than what it is. I think that the package is weird, but it's clear, I think that it's clear from this and like everything that's being implied in this cover that this is not a fully human character. So I can kind of get down with the anatomy being a little off, and I'm gonna say it's okay for what it is. So like, let's put this one in like a pretty good for what it is. But guys, look at the original cover. What is this? It's so like, I don't even know what to say about this. Like, it's so clearly like a children's drawing of a wolfman's pecs. I don't know what this is. But like the insinuation of some kind of fur, because like that must be what it is, right? Like based on this, I have to think that this is meant to be like some version of like hair or fur. And it is so bad it's good, but the fur traumatizes me. So I'm gonna say that this iteration is definitely more on the traumatizing end. And we're rounding the bin with a good old The Haunted Vagina. I don't really know what to say about this. The idea of my vagina being haunted is pretty scary, so that's pretty traumatizing. I don't know what this pink stuff is, if it's meant to be some sort of stylized version of blood. I just don't know what this is, and I'm afraid of it a little bit. There's skeletons, so I'm gonna say that this is a traumatizing one. This is a lot. Okay, and then we've got, let's take a little break from from trauma. I love this. I think that this is so pretty. It's called The Lady and Her Secret Lover, and look how pretty their dresses are, and they look like all like soft and snuggly with each other. I think this is great. So I'm gonna say this is pretty dresses because I just really love the costuming on this one, and it's a very like tasteful, tender kind of clench. So we'll go with pretty dresses for that. Similarly, The Rogue of Fifth Avenue. I think, look how pretty the dress is. I don't love the clench, but mostly I'm just looking at this dress. So I'm gonna say that this is another version of just like put a pretty dress on the cover and I'm gonna be pretty happy. Okay, and I didn't want to take too many old school romance novel covers because we've come a long way since then, but I did feel like the Very Virile Viking deserved to be discussed because I don't know. I kind of think for what it is, it's kind of great. Like, it's a great version of an old school romance. It's got a great old school romance title. It has the illustrated cover. He's, you know, I think it's a well executed version for what it is. He's wearing some sassy short shorts and a gold armband. He's got his sword raised aloft. Just like all in all, I think this is actually a pretty good version of what it is. So I'm going to call this good for what it is. And actually similarly, a more modern version. If you like, the glisten on this man titty is just exquisite. Like, this is actually like a beautifully rendered drawing of a naked dude in the waterfalls, which is, I've read this book. It's a pretty fun, rompy kind of book. And this is an accurate depiction of the opening scene. So, you know, I'm gonna say this is a good version of what it is. It's very heavy on the man titty. But you know, sometimes you just need a little man titty in your life. So I'm gonna say good for what it is. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, this one. I don't know what's going on in this, guys. Like, so this is self-pubbed. I think this is a male-male romance. Why are his pants down like this? Because it's, I think we've got them like mid-drop. I'm not sure if this is like a scene from the book. I just don't, like, I don't know. I don't know why his underwear is out like this. It's just awkward and not great. I'm gonna go with, it's not Photoshop. I'm gonna say this is just a bad visual metaphor. Like, I think it's like, hey, he's got underwear. He's in his underwear, like they have sex. And we get that, but I just don't know that we need that in an illustrated cover like that. Undercover Bromance. I really love the Bromance series covers. I think they all look pretty great. It's a good representation of the book. I really like this one. I'm gonna put it in Love It. And then Good Old Victor by Brenda Rothert. This is a Photoshop fail to me. So like, we got a naked dude. I'm not sure that this part of the naked dude is the same as the top part of the naked dude. I can't tell, like, it's a weird angle. I'm not sure this is actually the same model. And then like the strategic photoshopping of the blade over the crack for me is pretty great. So we're gonna call that a Photoshop fail. And then we've got Wait For It. So this was in one of my top lists from a few years ago. This is like the abstract image cover design for a romance novel. And I think, as you've seen, if you are self-pubbing, this is a perfectly respectable route to go, and you really should consider it. So it's not particularly exciting, but I think it is just fine. So I'm gonna say good for what it is my personal feeling on that. And I'm gonna say the same for Wildfire by Ilona Andrews. I just don't like, I don't know, maybe I need to make it worse than that, because I just don't like these covers, and it's such a bummer. These were like really big sellers, so I just don't know why they gave them these kinds of cover treatments, because they are able to do a lot better. Like this, several of the ones in the Pretty Dresses or Love It category come from the same publisher, so I don't know why they went this route. Is it good for what it is? I just don't know. I'm gonna go with bad visual metaphor, because I think it's meant to be like, I mean, it's wildfire and like they're in the middle of the elements and he's holding her back like she is the wildfire, and I just don't know that it's that effective. So, okay, and then a recent one that the book is really good and this cover is so beautiful. Like, I absolutely love this cover. One of my favorite ones we've looked at. It's so beautiful. It's a great book. I'm gonna put this as Love It. You Had Me at Ola. Definitely a really good one. And then last but not least, good old Czar. This, I think, is probably best categorized as a Photoshop fail. I'm gonna say this is not like a custom drawing of a man cat alien thing. I'm gonna say this is probably a cover model that they like gave a cat head profile to and then like added veins. Also, well, there's layers to this one, man, because we've got the sword kind of jutting out from the, you know, kind of peen area. So we've got a bad visual metaphor. I think this also probably could count as traumatizing, because like if an alien, like I don't know about that. Okay, like this is one where it could go a lot of different ways. Is it, you know, I'm gonna say it's not as traumatizing as the Game Warden's Mate original cover. So I'm gonna say it's either a bad visual metaphor or Photoshop fail. And I'm gonna say, let's just put it as a Photoshop fail. I think that's probably the best categorization. Okay, So my tiering is done, and yeah, this is where we ended up. So let's see what we ended up with. Alrighty, so what did we learn today, boys and girls? I think we learned that even when you see a romance cover out and about in the wild that you think is not great, probably there's a much worse version of it out there. So just keep that in mind. Also, you know, there's some of these that are technically bad, but I think do a decent job of communicating what they're about. So insofar as they are marketing tools, I think that they are correctly kind of marketing what they're trying to do to people. So I guess in that sense, it's a success. And finally, I think that we've really learned that you should think before you Photoshop. There's just a lot of these that if you could just like rein it in, don't put every single element that you've got into one image, that probably is gonna be helpful overall to the outcome of the aesthetics of your cover. Again, I hope everyone knows that was just in good fun. You guys know I love romance novels, and I actually, like I said, there's some of these that are so bad, I think they're kind of fun, and I've read some of these books and some of them I haven't. No disrespect meant to any of the authors or cover designers necessarily. I just think, you know, some fearless feedback on the fruits of the photoshopping labor is really all we're providing here. So yeah, I think that will do it. Let me know what you thought of any of these covers. Do you have any other covers that you think would fall into some of the F+ / traumatizing territory? Let me know that in the comments down below. And yeah, I think that will do it for now. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.